This is like the part two, a successor of the previous video where we saw what the sequences are. Here in this video, we'll see how to edit these sequences or like add new sequences. So once you have logged into the web dashboard of the FarmBot, uh, what you want to do is first try to figure out where your first plant is. Uh, and you can do that so by like basically if I take a picture right now, like where this is the one important thing to note is right, I've used this button to move the farm bot to its home position. So it shows the current home position is 1, 1, and -1. And if I take a photo right now, once the photo is done capturing, and if I look at the photo, you can see it's not right above the plant, it's somewhere else. So what I can do is I can like try to move the robot in any of these directions and try to make or move the camera roughly to above the plant. And this can be basically done by, let's say, typing like a random value where you can say 50/50. Let's just say x-axis to -15. And once you press go, it's going to move to that particular location. Now, of course, if you're in the room of the farm bot, you can visually see where the camera is located. But let's say at the time of recording the video, uh, the farm bot is not visible to me, so I can just like move it, try to take a new picture, and just try to observe what the resultant image is. I would say it's still not what we would like it to be, so you can just change the position by trial and error. And similarly, I've done the same thing by moving it to 81. I found the first location to be 81, 40, and -50 for the current setup. So similarly, you can change these values and try to move the camera right above the plant. Once you have that values, once you have the first value, let's say, if you want to add like a new sequence, you first go to the sequences tab and then you press this plus button. So when I say add a new sequence, it is first generate in a random sequence with a random name. We can go ahead and name it, let's say, sequence for video tutorial. And once I save that, what I want to do is that I want to add steps in the sequence. We can description. You can add description to what this sequence does. Variable, we can skip the variable part for now. But here, once we come to sequence steps, what we want to do, let's say we are doing it for the first sequence. So when I say I want to add a block, so first block will be the move block. So when I say move, I can add uh, the location to be custom coordinates. And as I said, the home position will be 1, 1, and -1. So we can do that. Once we have the first block set up, this will move the robot to these coordinates from whatever position it is in currently. Now the next logical step is to add the first location of the plant. So as you can see here, I can press the add button and it brings this pop-up. There are various other functions that you can use, but what we want is to move. So we can say move, then we can say custom coordinates, and these will be the coordinates that you have found out by trial and error or by visually seeing of what it is. One important thing to note here is this: the z-axis is basically the coordinate of the camera. So if you want a more zoomed in image, you can lower the camera. That means you can change this -50 to -60 or -70. Or if you want like a zoomed out image, it can be -20 minus. You can just raise the z-axis to get like a zoomed out image. One important thing to note here is that at the beginning the plants will be small, so you have to keep that in mind. The plants are going to grow, and you got to leave them room for them to grow, so that the camera is like a bit far away from what the plant's usual height is going to be. So this is the one first location that I found out, and -50 is, I think it's a good location for the camera for uh, at least 1 to 1.5 months of growth for at least like the lettuce and tomato microtom plants. And once the camera has moved to the desired location, then what we want is the camera to click an image. So what you can do is you can scroll down. There's a function known as take photo. You just do that, and this block will essentially take a photo. You don't have to make any other changes. After that, after taking the first photo of the plant, you want to move to the next plant. So then I press the add button, move. This time you can do two things. You can give the custom coordinates and you can give the individual coordinates of the second plant. Or another easier thing will be that you can offset the camera from the current location. Now when it says current location, the current location is going to be the last location that it has reached. That is 80, 140, and minus 50. Now this is obviously assuming that there were no manual forces that were involved to move the robot, which actually can't be done while the robot is powered on. It can only be done when it's powered off. Even if you use these buttons while it is in motion, it's going to record the movements, and this won't change this won't affect the current process that are running. Now, when I say offset from the current location, I have figured out that the slots on the Crop King hydroponic NFT system are 200 away from the first location. So I can just put it here as 200, and this will make it go to the second location or the second plant. After this, again, I want to take a photo. So you can either type take photo, or you can just scroll down and select that option to take the photo. Again, after that, we can make it move by an offset of 200. So you can keep on doing that for all the six different locations of the first row. And once that is done, you can hit save, and this will save a sequence. And whenever you come back to the sequence tab, let's say this is the first time you're coming to the sequence tab, you scroll down, you can find the sequence that you have made right now for sequence for video tutorial. Similarly, you can go ahead again, make a new sequence. Let's say that this sequence is for the second row. So sequence for second row, sequence for second row video tutorial. You go. Now for the second row, you don't have to home the robot. You can just put in the custom coordinates of the first one. uh, so these can be the coordinates of the second row. You can also find these manually. um, but again, as I have already found it out for the second row, I can just go here. See, it's like 350 and minus 50. So I can just use those coordinates for the time being. It was 350 minus 50. And then I wanted to take a picture. So photo. Again, after that, it's going to be offset from current location of 200 and again, once it moves to that location, we want to take a photo. So you do the similar thing for all the six positions, and then once you have done the same thing for sixth position, you can hit save, and you do the same thing for third row, fourth row, fifth row, sixth row. And once you have that, you can also make combine these sequences into a parent sequence. Let's just say call it the parent, or combine all rows video tutorial. Go ahead and save that. And what you want to do here, now we don't want to move it, we just want to combine all the sequences, right? So you go here in the sequence steps. If you scroll at the bottom, you'll be able to find the sequences that you have made, or you can also manually type in the name of the sequence. But now let's say this is the sequence for the first row. I choose this. What's this going to do when I run this sequence? Like run the combine all rows video tutorial sequence, is going to run this sequence first, and this sequence is essentially go to all the six positions of each plant and take a picture. Now, after finishing this, I wanted to do the same thing for the second row. Again, I add the plus button, go find the sequence that I made for the second row. I add that. Then I again hit the same thing. Then right now we don't have a sequence for the third row, but when you make a sequence, it will be present for the third row. You go ahead and select that. So by doing so, essentially you can add blocks and make these sequences for all the six rows. As you can see, one that I have made here is for the take photo for the first row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row, sixth row. And Once you run this sequence, it's going to go to all the plants, each 36 plants, and take pictures. Now, after this, one of the important things that you want to learn about is that once you have a sequence, you don't want to manually run the sequence every time you want to sample the plants. You want to kind of automate the process. So, this is where regimens come in. So now to make a regimen, first we'll see the regimen that I already have, where it takes pictures of all the plants or runs the parent sequence every 4 hours. Now, a thing to remember here is that the way that we have structured our growth lights is that they switch off between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So I have structured the intervals of the sequence between those time frames. So as you can see, it first sequence is at 6:10 a.m. every morning, and after that, it runs for every 4 hours. uh, the only exception being the last one, where instead of 10:10 it runs at 9:50, so that the photos are not taken in dark but rather in light. So how do you make this regimen? So again, you come to the regimen tab. You can come here. This is like calendar where you can view the events that are scheduled by you. But what you want to do is you come to regimens. You see this page. You say add regimen. You can let's say name it uh, regimen for video tutorial. Say that, enter that, and then you press schedule item. Now when you want to schedule it, what you can do is like you have to choose a sequence that you want to schedule. For us, it's gonna be the sequence, or so we did not save the last um, sequence that we made. So first we have to save this. Now we go back to the regimen page. You say schedule item. Then you can go ahead and select combine all rows video tutorial. This is the sequence where we combine two different sequences. Once you select that, you can select the time when you want that to be. Let's say we want it to be at 6:15 a.m. So this is going to be 6:15 a.m. But here you can see that it's basically um, this is military time. This is not AM PM. So you just select 6:15 AM, and then you can go ahead and select um, whatever number of days or whenever you want to run it in the week. So the first day is going to be the day that you are starting the sequence, and then depending on the day that you want this to run, you can select all those days, and then uh, you can save the sequence. Also, along with that, you can keep on adding weeks. Let's say this time is not enough for you, just keep on adding weeks and selecting the days. And you can also just easily just select all or deselect all, depending on what you want to do. But once you have that, you can go back. Let's say we just schedule it for a week, for 6:15 a.m. Then we go back here. It seems that it has not been saved. Then go ahead and save this. Once it's saved, you can see this is the regimen. Um, this one is already running for that time, uh, 6:10. For like similarly, we had scheduled it for like 6:15 a.m. And once you have successfully added and saved that, um, you will be able to see those in the. So you can see that whatever you have added is going to be present. I accidentally added it 2 times, but if you just add it once, you can see that at day one it will be sequenced, like the sequence that we had made will be saved for 6:15 a.m. And then you can hit save again, and then you have a regimen that's present that you can use to